What's up, guys? I just made it back from Baltimore. Actually, like a couple hours ago, I came back and I napped because I'm tired. But Baltimore Regionals is in the books. The first regionals of the season has concluded with Piper Lapine winning. Absolutely insane. She's an amazing player. Absolutely huge congrats to her playing her Radiant Star deck to a regional championship win. So if you guys haven't already, go congratulate her because that is a well-deserved win. And I think this was the largest regionals, if not second largest regionals ever. So having taken that down, that's an incredible title. But I am back, and for those of you who don't really care how I did or whatever, I finished 50th, so 50, so top 64 place. Um, yeah, and I went 9-4-2. So this is a 60 that I ended up playing for this tournament. I will break this down a little bit. We'll jump into my 15 rounds, and that'll be your tournament report. But before I jump in to stuff, I wanted to take a second to thank all the people who came up to me this weekend. There was a lot of people, and I was not expecting that many people to come up and just like talk to me and wish me well and say like thank you for the content, like thank you for what you do, because there's been a lot of times where I've just been like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this because like who am I actually helping? But my goal has always been to try to help players get better acclimated with the Pokemon TCG scene and get better in their own capacity. So thank you, like from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the kind words this weekend. It reminded me of why I do things, and that's yeah. So anyway, here's the 60 that I ended up playing. I didn't touch my cards since Worlds because I just have been super burnt out. I got to Baltimore even on Friday, and it's like a short drive for me, so I felt super burnt out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play tomorrow. Like, I think we were talking about decks, and someone was like, I think Justin Bacari was like, what do you want to play tomorrow? Like, do you think you want to play Palkia? Because I know you don't like playing Palkia. I think it's true. Like, I had one good run with Palkia, that I had a bad run with Palkia, and I didn't want to play for Worlds. So he was like, do you want to play it? Like, do you hate it? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what is your gut telling you for tomorrow? And I was like, my gut's telling me I want to go home and sleep in my bed. Like, I don't even want to be here. I don't know. I can't explain why. It might just be like everything going on. It might just be like the burnout. I don't know. I just didn't want to be there and play. But we talked about the 60. Basically, it's just your stock standard Palkia. There's a copy of Crobat to get that extended turn to your reach to kind of make a play with the switchers. Yeah, just making a play with the switchers turn 2 is really hard when you can't build your hand as effectively. So having Crobat to get that reach is really nice to find that one missing piece usually. So very cool card. I'll talk about why this was a huge thing in my tournament in a second here. And then we have the 1/1 copy of Ice Rider to, in theory, poke into the Flying Pika first. They hit into the Ice Rider, you take the knockout, so it's 3 for 3, and then your Palkia then takes a 2-prizer, and then your Palkia takes 2 prizes and ends the game. Or you can take Palkia 2 prizes first, they bring up the Pika, you poke in with the Ice Rider, and then you one-shot it for the second one, or just poke in with Ice Rider, and then they like try to dodge it, then you just one-shot it anyway, and then if they don't deal with the Ice Rider, then you have one-shots on Arceus for the rest of the game. So, I don't really know in theory if I used it properly, but I played against one Arc Pika and I won, and it did what it was supposed to do, so I guess it worked. And then the other changes, we chose not to play the Marnie in favor of a Melanie, and I think in hindsight, while the Melanie was really good, I would have played the Marnie again because there was a lot of Gigas and Radiant Zard, and I think both those matchups, if you can't use that early Marnie, it gets really dicey because you have to wait till Roxanne turns. And by the time you get to that point, their deck is usually so thin or their chain is so easy to pull off that both those matchups get really sketchy and really hard to play. So this was the 60 I played. Only changes I would make is probably cut the Melanie for something else. And I don't know, the Calyrex didn't really pull its weight, but it won the one match it was supposed to be there for. So maybe it stays, maybe it gets cut. I don't know what I would have done, to be honest. But I would have really liked the Palpad because I did feel like some of my games were razor thin. And had I prized a single piece, it would have been really scary. So I don't know. But obviously, this version of Palkia doesn't get to see play again in Lost Origin format. So that'll be a completely different field. Anyway, I'll jump into my report because it's getting kind of long. Sorry about that. Let me zoom in on names. I always pull up the names because I don't want to mess up how I say them or whatever in general. So you can see my how it went the whole time, but I'll go round by round. So round 1 I went up against Ryan Bruckner, who was playing Mewtwo V-Union. Instantly, like, my heart drops because I know the matchup is really bad and things can go really bad. So in game one, I ended up taking 4 prizes before Ryan established his Mewtwo V Union. So now that I never got that 5th prize, I can't even go for that horn, like end the gameplay. And so what I did was I waited to kind of use my V-Star, and I feigned not having court for a majority of the game. And there was a turn where Ryan used Palpad and didn't put back a Cook. He put back Silene and Yellowstream, I believe. And I think I used that opportunity to bring up the Ice Rider and swing for 250 with max. Like I V-starred and put like 4 energy on the active, like three and an attach on the active Ice Rider. And I used max science for 250, and Ryan had to cook that turn to get that damage off with the heal, and he didn't have the cook. But the next turn he yelled shear back the cook into the deck with the other guys. At that point, I had the goon in hand to close it out. So I took game 1, and then game 2, there was a turn where I had 20 damage on his Meowth, and it was a clean Snorlax in the active, I believe, from Aqua Blooding, and I think Ryan missed it, but I literally went goon, net goon to put the damage counters in a perfect way to one-shot 2 things. And I think he did have an extra Pokemon that he could have benched to prevent that play, but I think he ended up missing it, and I was able to take the first round. So I take that like squeaky clean. So round 2, I go up against Destiny, and she's playing Gigas, my arch nemesis Gigas, also my best friend at the same time. And game 1 comes down to the wire. I think Destiny ends up making a mistake, and I explained to her after the game that she could have, I think, capitalized on it. And I probably would have lost that game. And so I only won game 1 because of Destiny's mistake. And then game 2, Destiny pulls the biggest Giga Chad move I've ever seen in my life. So nothing but respect to her. She chose to go second, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then we set up, and I had a lone Sobble, and I passed, and Destiny killed my Sobble. So that was pretty crazy. So yeah, and then game 3, I was actually like contemplating not going first, and I was like, there's no way that's right. There's no world it's correct that I choose to go second. So I went first again. I actually got a set up board, and the game came down to, I think, the same, like almost a similar board state where like Destiny went down to 1 prize, I was going down to 1 prize, and if Destiny could find a way to get a choice belt to LAKEY, I would lose the game. But I think what she ended up doing is attacking with the Draco in a situation where she didn't need to, and could have attacked with one of the other Reggies, and that meant that they had no draw left towards the end of the game, and that won me the set. But it was like a razor thin match, and I was like not winning. I don't know. I felt like I should have lost that set, but anyway, we got there. Reggie's hard. Reggie's scary. So in 2-0, I go up against Riley, and she is playing Palkia, so it's Palkia Mirror. And the first game, I like a misattachment. I think I won. I don't remember who won the flip, but I missed the attachment turn 1 for sure. And so I ended up having to V-star for like a super lackluster amount. And then I get super far ahead because my hand is like super nice where I get the cross switchers, and then the next turn I get the boss, and I get to take 4 prizes back to back very easily on Palkias. And so Riley's only out now is to Roxanne and hope it sticks effectively. And so it wasn't a Roxanne path, it was just a regular Roxanne, I'm pretty sure too. And so the Roxanne happens, and then I take out Riley's active Inteleon, which has now been doing a beating to my active Palkia. And then Riley sets up her board to quick shooting my active, take the knockout, so my energies are now wiped from the board. Because I already V-starred for like 1 energy, I'm pretty sure, or maybe 2 energies. Like it was a bad V-star. So, and then I have like Greninja in play, and I have a ton of time to basically find some energies to end the game with Ice Rider. I just have to take 1 prize. I have to take 1 prize somewhere, and I couldn't close the game, I think, in like 3 turns, which sucked. So Roxanne got me, and then game 2, I think it was similar where like I had to end up V-starring really poorly because my start was pretty bad, and then Riley capitalized once again with a mid game Roxanne where I couldn't like I didn't have a established enough board and didn't have a like built enough like board to deal with that, and Riley was just able to capitalize and take me down with a strong finish. So yep, well played Riley. She got to 3-0 at that point, and I went down to 2-1. So 2-1 heading into lunch. Didn't really feel too bad about that. I knew like I think it could have gone either way if the Roxannes went differently. So I wasn't too beat up about it. And then I went to lunch, got some Potbelly, ended up getting a strawberry shake because it was hot and disgusting and gross in the venue. I can't explain it. It was just really hot and muggy, and I just needed something to cool me down, so I got a milkshake. And then round 4 went against Cyrus, and they were playing Palkia as well. It was Palkia Mirror, and then I think game 1 Cyrus ended up making this mistake that attaching the big charm to a different spot than normal, and I ended up being able to punish it by knocking out the active Palkia. And then Cyrus had the big charm to Palkia, which meant that there was no choice belt Palkia coming my way. And so I didn't get one shot, but then I had the Goon Ping to one shot them for the knockout. And then game 2 came down to a razor thin margin where I ended up making a decision because I had like the switchers to get the attack off, but instead of Roxanning, I thought maybe it was correct to Melanie and guarantee the attachment because I think I only had like 2 ways to get energy in the deck. Because I thought I needed to keep tempo, but I think I made a gigantic mistake there, and I should have just Roxanned, but I didn't. So Cyrus just had the boss, access to boss or switchers. I don't remember exactly which one, but I lost. And then the third game again came down to razor thin margins, where I believe that I got off to an early lead. Cyrus was able to Roxanne me, and then I was able to draw out of the Roxanne to basically win the game. So Palkia Mirror is a very razor thin matchup, despite who goes first, because whoever goes second can still build a board and Roxanne's really scary. And the onus is on whoever goes first to take the first knockout, so it's still pretty scary on either side. Yeah, so now I'm 3-1, and I went up against Alex Rubin, who's one of my locals. Love the guy. We play at like 1Ks, case tournaments, whatever. I see this guy all the time. Great guy. So Alex and I play, and in the first game in Palkia Mirror, I think Alex made like a mistake somewhere, and we talked about it after the game. That ended up leading to me winning the game in the Palkia Mirror. And then game 2 was similar, where Alex got the lead. I went for the Roxanne. Alex was not able to draw out of it. I wasn't able to draw out of it. And then the third game, again, very similar. I went first, had a really good board start. Alex had a pretty weak board start, I think. I went ahead and got the turn 2 switcher kill. It might have even been a boss kill. Like I got the turn 2 kill on a Palkia, and then the board setup continued the way it did. And I think it was just that like Alex's Roxanne never came. I don't even think he was able to Roxanne that game, but I don't remember. But the third game just felt like it was a blowout. And we talked about the game after, and I think the first game was one I should have lost as well. But tournaments, matches, everything is decided on the razor thin difference. It's adaptability. When people see the Ice Rider, sometimes they freak out and see something different, and they don't understand what they're doing or what like different card counts come into their mind. So I think that might have caught some of my opponents off guard. So round 6, I went up against Ling Yang, who was playing Radiant Sword. And game 1, it came down to game 1. I thought I was legitimately going to lose or win like super easy because I went for the rapid flow, the Gale Shuriken, whatever, the 2 Sobbles super early, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be super far ahead. And then I ended up losing that game because Ling Yang just out-resourced me after that. And I just like remember like a carrier came down the next turn, and then like I don't know, it just was a blur and I lost. And the second game came down to a razor thin margin where I got my Roxanne to stick, as well as like taking out the Drizzles. I chose to start chasing Drizzles this game instead of the Manaphy, and I just said like screw the Manaphy, like we'll get there when we get there. He only has 1 Drizzle in play at a time. I'm just gonna chase the Drizzles, keep allowing Ling Yang to stick to 1 item, and hope that works. And it did. It barely worked. And then the third game, something very similar happened, but Ling Yang ended up telling me right after the game that his Zard and Heavy Ball got prized, and he was hoping to take them. And I think he had taken 2 prizes. He went aggressively for 2 prizes with like switchers Inteleon onto like my Drizzle, onto my Drizzle, and then like switchers Inteleon like onto my like Sobble. And I was just like, that play didn't seem right. And I asked him after why, because like I felt like by burning like all of his switchers on doing those plays, he had left himself vulnerable to like me just actually establishing 1 Inteleon and setting off the prize trade. And he told me after that the Radiant Sword and the Heavy Ball were prized. He was trying to pull them out, which obviously if that happens, then even if I go down to 3 prizes, which I was about to do, there's no Zard in my like future. Like I was going to go down to 3, and the Zard was going to come out and take the 2 probably, and I was going to Roxanne, kill the active, and that's where the game starts really. I had set up an Ice Rider, so I was going to go with Ice Rider to offset that as well. But with 4 switchers gone, I knew that was a fine play. Anyway, ended up going to 5-1 now. And then I go up against Derek, wonderful opponent. It's a great time. Game 1, it's Fusion Mew. Like the board gets set up. I think Derek ends up getting like a ton, like a pretty insane board, and I can't really contest it. So the first game is a complete blowout. And the second game, I Zigzagoon attached pass, so I thought I was cooked. I thought I actually lost the game. And then Derek prized all 3 of his Alessa's Sparkles. And I think he had gone through like 2 tablets, like a choice belt, like 2 ultra, like a lot of resources to try to get to like cram heads or DLSs. And he was like, if I had just known, I just wouldn't have done this, but I should have checked my prizes. And I was like, this is absurd. I've never seen anything happen like that in my life. And then I won that game, which I'm not entirely sure exactly what happened, but I won. And then the third game, Derek had a pretty good start. Everything went his way. And then I think it was like I damaged both Mews, setting up for the Greninja, obviously. I think I needed 2 more turns to get the Greninja off. And Derek had 3 fusions on board and a DTE. So the Mew was going to swing 2 times for sure. And I was going to have to go in with the Inteleon next turn to attack in with the Inteleon, take a prize, or take 3 prizes, and then look for the Palkia one-shot with a Melanie to end the game. But Derek found his way into the 4th fusion, and it was lights out for me because, that's, I got one-shot. Yeah, I think a lot of tabs were on that game, so I had like some hope to keep playing it up, but obviously you don't scoop a game 3. So X2 now, so I have to play my win in. And now I hit Edwin, who's a really good friend of mine. And Edwin's playing Gigas as well, which is not a good matchup. Game 1, Edwin has like a pretty bad start. Like everything's kind of going badly for Edwin. Like he never really gets like a full bench going even. So I remember like at one point I like literally like horned back like a second steal onto his board. And I just kept chasing the Draco with all of my Gust cards. I chased the first Lucky with a Choice Belt, and then I chased the Draco every time. And he scooped pretty early. And then game 2... it came down to like a razor thin margin, but like Edwin, I think for like the first 2 turns went through like half his deck and wasn't able to get like a decent attack off. So obviously if you do it with the Reggie, it's really difficult. And there was a crucial turn where I think he bossed my Manaphy too and set himself up to like basically get that Alecki knock, the Alecki hit to put the 40s on my board. And that never happened. So I ended up winning. And then Edwin, yeah, so I'm technically in day 2. Round 9, I set up against Hamza, and so I told Hamza that I wanted to play it out because I thought that genuinely I was trying to win the tournament, and 7-2 is like the only route, because like going in at 6-2-1, you have to go 5-0-1. Even 5-1 does not make it. Like 5-1 today would have been top 16 for me as opposed to top cut, which is pretty brutal. So I told Hamza we got to set up and play, and he was like super okay with it. And then I told Hamza like before we start, like if I see the matchup and I don't like it, can I still offer the ID, and like would that not make me like a bad person? Like, is it fine? Because like I don't know the matchup, I don't know anything, but obviously like a lot of people know what I'm playing. So Hamza was like, yeah, no worries, buddy. He won the flip. He flipped over an Ice Rider. I flipped over Palkia. I had a dead hand. I told Hamza I have a dead hand. Would you still like the ID? Like you're gonna get game 1 basically. And Hamza was like, yeah, we'll take the ID. So absolute props to that guy. He had no reason to do that. He could have just bodied me game 1, and then we would have seen what happens in game 2 and 3. But I'm blown away that I even got that ID. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. So day 2, we're here. We're back. I don't know matchups. I don't know anything. I just know I have to win 5 before I can lose 1, which is really daunting. But I've had like a pretty bad track season of losing the first round of the day. So I was just hoping to set the tone early, right? Like the tone right early. So I hit Byron, who's a local of mine. And in the first matchup, Byron, I don't think really got the point of the Ice Rider, so I was able to kind of bring up that Pika early, poke into it. He was able to go into the RCS. He retreated back into the RCS to try to set up a second Pika, and I brought the big Pika back up, and I popped it with the Ice Rider, and then the RCS came up and popped my Ice Rider, so we went 3-3, and then I was able to go remaining Gust cards to bring up the Pika that's unevolved, one-shot it, and then just set up like checkmate on the remaining RCS. Like just set up checkmate with my V-Star on the remaining RCS. And then game 2, Byron like had a pretty bad brick, and I just was able to I think he got like a turn 3 Trinity Charge after going first, which is pretty bad. So at that point I'd already taken like I had already done the damage that I needed to do. And if that happens, it happens. So that was my first and only arc peak of the tournament, and it worked out the way I wanted it to. Round 11 went against Fabricio. Game 1 was like Palkia versus Fusionless Mew kind of thing, where like I got the Oricorio prize going first into the I didn't get a Gust effect. So then turn 2 I was able to do the 3-10 one shot to take out the Mew, and then the game kind of ended with just me gusting and finishing. Game 2 was a little bit weirder, but Fabrizio had like a ton of tails on Krem, so I think like had he hit like even one heads like at some point, like not even there was one turn where he needed like just basically switchers to win the game, and he didn't get there because I made a play where I knew one of my switchers was prized and I already bossed. So no, I already used one pair of switchers and one was in the prizes. So rather than try to take a Genesect out and make it so the only 2 prizes I can get, like I have to pull the switcher out. Like it basically becomes a 50-50 if I win the game. I opted to chase down the Oricorio because Silene and Palpad were both in the discard. And so I was like, okay, Silene and Palpad are both gone. There's no way that if Oricorio doesn't get recovered, I can play for the Horn 3-10 play because I have all the resources for it. And I know that's like my most likely scenario to win the game with the 3 prizes with the Fusionless Mew. So I knock out the Oricorio. Don't pull the Switcher out of my prizes, which, you know, if I did, I would have been instant punished, right? Like if the Switcher comes out first, I'd have been like, damn, darn, like I could have just done it that way. But I think I made the correct play there, the heads up play. But what I didn't know that Fabrizio did was play a second Oricorio. And when he put that down, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get insta punished. And then I slammed the Path Roxanne and it stuck. It just stuck, giving me the game, which I got super lucky that it stuck because I think I needed 2 turns to buy because the Oricorio back again because both the Mew VMAXs were fresh. So didn't really have a chance to one-shot them. I just had to kind of 2-shot them and it worked. So, but I think Fabrizio had like 1 cram flip in that path opportunity and he got tails and that would have gotten him out of it. And he showed me his hand after and I think had he got that heads, I just lose right there. And we go to game 3, which I think I'm favored because I go first, but still, it doesn't matter. So 2-0 on the day, still alive. Round of 12, I go up against Juan. And once again, it's Fusionless. Was it Fusionless Mew? I think it was Fusion Mew. I don't know. But either way, both games against Juan came down to basically Roxanne Path, and it's sticking. Like, if it doesn't stick either time, I lose. But both times it ended up sticking, and I won the game because of that on the back of those. So I think it was Fusion. I think there was Fusion. I think there was Catchers in Juan's deck. But that one was a blur just because I think like I was getting knocked out, and then I had to like establish the Path Roxanne. Basically, it's like always in the back of my mind to win the game. Round 13, I go against Isaiah Rufus. I've known Isaiah for a really long time. He's playing Regigigas. I'm really scared. I think the matchup is terrible for me because I've been skating by my Gigas matchups. Like the first set goes pretty much down to the wire. I think Isaiah has this turn where he is researching and he has to put 3 choice belts onto the board, and only 1 can go on a Lucky, and I'm just like, okay, oh my God, like this is my opportunity, it's my window. And then I got the Path Roxanne off, not the Path, like just a Roxanne, I think, and it bought me that crucial turn I needed, and Isaiah was lacking that choice belt to close out the game at the very end, so it worked out in my favor. And the second game, a lot of stuff happens, and the final board state is my Palkia, or sorry, my Inteleon has now taken a 1-shot on his Regidraco. I'm now at 2 prizes remaining. Isaiah has 2 as well. And there's like the full board. He's able to get the Regidraco back into play to get the ability off. He puts the 3 energy on Steel. I know he's Palpadded back double boss, and he used the boss the turn prior after the Palpad, like after he drew into it, I think. Or a couple turns ago, maybe. I don't know. And I knew he routed back Steel. So there's about 4 or 5 cards left in deck, and 1 in hand after the sequence of everything. And then the Steel knocks out the Inteleon, taking the prize card, going to 2 prize cards or 2 cards in hand. 1 I guarantee is probably not the boss because, you know, I don't know what the other card is. So I think there could be an angle where I lose to Rope. And so I evolve my Ice Rider into the VMAX on the bench to make sure that I can't get knocked out by Registeel. Yeah, so make sure I don't get knocked out by Registeel if I get roped. And I kill with Palkia, or I switch her up the Draco and take the knockout with Palkia, because in my mind I'm thinking, if he's got 5 in deck, it's got to be the like raw boss in hand, or like top deck the boss for game, or yeah, I mean like if he can go back into the Draco. I think there was 3 nuts gone too, so I was like feeling comfortable about it, and then he flashed the boss and, you know, went to game 3. And then game 3 we're like literally on like turn 1 of setup, and then time gets called, and Isaiah just shows me like 2 ball cards, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna tie. So we tied, which doesn't eliminate either of us, but I think that game 2 was like really, really razor close, and it felt like it could have gone either way. Yeah, absolutely banger series, but still in contention. So round 14, I'm still in contention, which is like a lot more than I can say for my previous regionals this past season post-COVID. And it's been a really long time since I've been in these positions of contention. So it was nice to be in these positions, to be honest. And I am fortunate to have these opportunities. So then I went up against Tord, who was playing Ice Rider Barrel. Yeah, Ice Rider Barrel. No, Ice Rider. Palkia Barrel. And so I lost the flip party, which kind of sucks. And then game 1 is just a bat 6 dead cards. So Tord just basically gets like a perfect setup, 2 VIP pass, Capacious Bucket. I draw for turn, instantly scoop. We go to game 2. I go first. I basically get the perfect setup where I can go 2 prize, 2 prize, 2 prize, and toward as soon as I take 4 and he doesn't take 2, he just concedes it, and we just go to the third with plenty of time, and the Crobat has appeared once again as my starting Pokemon. So basically, I had a pretty lackluster turn 1 as well, and the game came down to the Crobat being the deciding factor as the free 2 prizes that Tord was able to take at the very end of the game. So, I mean, what is expected, I think. Just opening Crobat twice kind of sucked, but if I was going to get knocked up by anyone, Tord is fine, to me. So, sucked, but that's where my tournament run kind of ended. And then, now I'm in a position in round 15 to play for top 32, which is kind of a disgusting feeling. After being in a position where, like, winning 2 puts me into top 8, like, now I'm playing for top 32 prizing. And so I'm against Steven Resco, a very good friend of mine, like a very old friend. We play each other like all the time at locals. And so we're having like a funny series. Like in game 1, he basically like goes all in to try to knock out my Palkia. And he doesn't. So he loses with Mew. Sorry. And then game 2, I basically get nothing going for me, and so I lose. And the third game I opened Bat. We play a little bit more seriously. But I opened the Bat again. But it just came down to basically, like, I opened a Bat, had a bad turn 1, going first, which gives, plenty of opportunity for Steven to come back in the game and just, like, wipe me. And I think it was just, like, I had to Path Roxanne on, like, the very last turn to even have a chance, and I did not do that. So I did not have access to either of those, and just like that, my tournament run ended at 9-4-2. A very respectable 9-4-2, I think, given everything, but that puts me at 50th place with 50 championship points earned as one of my first regional finishes. Not exactly what I would have wanted, but it felt really good to play good Pokemon, and I really enjoyed being there once the game started. Every single one of my opponents was like a pleasure to play against. A lot of old friends, a lot of old faces. It was really cool seeing a lot of people I respect in day 2 and seeing Piper take in the tournament. It was cool. It was just cool being back. Like it's been like 3 months since I have done well at a tournament, to put in perspective, because Milwaukee was 3 months ago where I day 2'd, and then since then it's been NAIC I did bad, Worlds I did bad, and the Open I did bad, and so like having that happen over and over again does deal like a significant blow to my confidence. And I'm a player that, like, when I'm confident, I play much better. Like, I feel better, I play better. I mean, I think I played very well this tournament, for what it's worth. I do have to sit back and reflect on a lot of my mistakes, I think. But for now, I think I can be proud of how I played. Yeah, but thank you guys for watching. I know this one was a little bit longer of a tournament report, but I had a lot to talk about. I am fresh memory. Yeah, so thank you a ton for everybody. And I will not be at Peoria if you made it this far. I will not be at Peoria, so I'm going to be kind of sad missing out on the first regionals. In the new format, I'll be the only person in my group missing out because I've got a wedding to go to, and it's my best friend from high school, so I kind of got to be there. But I will be at Salt Lake and LAIC and all that good stuff. So I'll see you guys around. I've got a whole season ahead of me. The road to Japan is going well, and this is Rahul's road to 2023 Worlds. I hope you guys are having a good time, and I hope you enjoy your regionals experience too, as well. Yeah.